The day had gone well for Elias Grayson. He'd just been paid. All evening, he'd been calculating what he could afford for his mother's birthday. Maybe a warm sweater, maybe that kettle she liked, maybe flowers if there was enough left. It was late when he left the grocery store. The streetlights flickered weakly down the narrow alley, rain clinging to the pavement like oil. Then, police lights exploded into the darkness. Red, blue, red again. They painted the brick walls like warnings he hadn't yet learned how to read. Elias stood frozen, grocery bag tearing in his hand. A carton of eggs cracked against the concrete. Milk ran into the gutter like something bleeding. He didn't run. He didn't even understand what was happening. Hands up. The voice was sharp, practiced. Elias raised them slowly, palms open. His fingers trembled, not from guilt, but from confusion. "I just left work," he said, breathless. "I work at the hospital laundry. You can check." They didn't check. Someone pushed him against the wall. Cold brick pressed into his cheek. Plastic cuffs bit into his wrists so tight he gasped. Across the street, a jewelry store alarm screamed into the night. A window was shattered. A masked figure vanished down the block. Elias didn't see him. But somehow, Elias became him. The arrest! At the precinct, they photographed him under flickering lights. Asked the same questions again and again. Where were you? Why were you running? Who were you with? "I wasn't running," Elias whispered. "I was walking home." A detective slid photos across the table. Blurry security stills. A tall man, dark hoodie, rain streaking the lens. "Looks like you," the detective said. Elias stared at the screen. "It doesn't," he said. The man in the photo had broader shoulders. A scar on his cheek Elias didn't have. "That can change," the detective replied flatly. No lawyer arrived that night. No phone call went through. When he asked again, the officer outside his cell laughed. "You people always say you didn't do it." Elias didn't sleep. He sat on the bench listening to a man scream 2 cells down. The courtroom. 3 weeks later, he stood before a judge who never once looked him in the eyes. His public defender sighed before speaking, as if already tired of him. The store owner testified with shaking hands. "I think that's him." "Think?" The word echoed in Elias's skull. "I had my receipt," Elias whispered to his attorney. "From the grocery store." "They lost the footage," the attorney muttered. "System glitch." "But I—" "Lower your voice." The prosecutor talked about crime waves, about fear, about making examples. The jury watched. Some of them nodded. When the verdict came, it landed soft and deadly. Guilty. Elias's knees buckled. His mother cried out behind him. The bailiff didn't flinch while dragging him away. 10 years. For a robbery he didn't commit. His first night inside prison. Prison didn't smell like rust. It smelled like sweat and bleach and something rotten underneath. They shaved his head, stripped him, stamped a number onto his identity. Cell C-417. His bunk creaked when he sat. His cellmate Marcus didn't look up from his book. "Keep your shoes on when you sleep," Marcus said. "Why?" Marcus finally met his eyes. "You'll learn." That night, someone tried his door, rattled it hard. Elias pressed his back to the wall and didn't breathe. If fear had a name, the years he spent in prison. Time moved strangely inside. Days were loud, nights were louder. Elias learned which guards looked away, which corridors were dangerous, which men to avoid. He learned how to eat fast, how to keep his eyes down, how to make himself small. He wrote letters to his mother. She wrote back until her handwriting started shaking, then until the letters came less often, then not at all. When he asked, a guard shrugged. She moved. They didn't say where. His beating. It happened in the laundry room. Irony cruel enough to feel deliberate. Someone accused Elias of stealing soap. He said he didn't. They didn't wait for proof. 3 men cornered him behind the dryers. The first punch split his lip. The second knocked him down. Boots followed. Ribs cracked like thin wood. He curled, hands over his head. Someone stomped his wrist. Something popped. He screamed. No one came. When they dragged him to medical hours later, his vision blurred and his arm hung wrong. The nurse wrapped it quickly. "Fill out a grievance form," she said. He couldn't hold the pen. His isolation. After he reported it, they moved him. Not to safety, to segregation. Concrete walls. 1 hour of light a day. Food through a slot. Weeks bled into months. The silence drilled into him. Sometimes he talked just to hear a voice. Sometimes he forgot words. He started waking up gasping, hands shaking, dreaming of boots, of alarms, of that alley. When he asked why he was still there, the guard said, "Paperwork." The fall! In year 7, Elias collapsed in the yard. Pain shot down his spine like lightning. He couldn't stand. They thought he was faking. Left him on the ground until count ended. By the time they rolled him to medical, his left leg barely moved. "Nerve damage," the doctor muttered. Could have been prevented. Should have been seen sooner. They gave him a cane. Took it away during searches. He learned to limp without it. His release. 10 years didn't end with celebration. It ended with a plastic bag holding his clothes and a bus ticket. His hair was thin now, his shoulders curved inward. One leg dragged when he walked. A tremor lived in his right hand. The sun felt too bright. Noise made his chest tighten. He stood outside the gate while other men laughed or cried or called family. No one waited for him. His mother was gone. Heart failure, a social worker later told him. 2 years earlier, he'd never gotten the letter. The truth! 6 months later, a journalist knocked on his shelter door. Another man had confessed. Same robbery, different state. DNA on a glove finally tested. Wrong man. Elias listened without speaking. The reporter kept apologizing. "They're reopening your case." Too late for his spine. Too late for his wrist that never healed straight. Too late for the years. The settlement came quietly, a number printed on a page. No courtroom apology, no judge, no detective, no headlines big enough. After prison! Elias sat on a bench near the bus station, watching people hurry past with backpacks and laughter and places to go. A boy tripped nearby. His father helped him up. Elias flinched at the sudden movement, pulled his coat tighter. His leg throbbed. His fingers shook around the cane. Above the street, a billboard flashed, "Justice for all." Elias stared at it until his eyes burned. Then he looked away. Because he had learned the truth too well. Not everyone was meant to be saved. Some people were meant to survive. Broken, forgotten, living proof that the system didn't always protect the innocent, only the powerful. If this story moved you, subscribe for more human stories the headlines forget.